Previously on Nick's Wild Ride, I was in New Zealand hunting for red stag. I not only shot one, but two, so as you can imagine, I was a happy camper. I spent time with new friends, and even made a new friend of the non-human kind, as I gave a sheep a haircut. This week, I'm still in New Zealand, so throw on your favorite wool sweater and join us as the adventure continues. Located off the southeast coast of Australia lies the country of New Zealand. This is thought to be one of the last significant land masses on Earth to be settled by humans, and its amazing mountain ranges, stunning landscapes, and diverse beauty make it one of the most beautiful places on Earth. The mountains here are tall, and they're unforgiving, but that's okay with me, because I've become borderline obsessed with the animals that live in these mountains, even if I do get a little bit of the willies when I get to the top of them.
I'm really scared of heights, and it's really high up here. If I look down over there, my butt clenches up just a tiny bit.
No matter who you are,
This is my happy place.
no matter what you want, your life,
God's West Africa.
you're gonna be a star.
Rooster! Hell yeah.
Rolling like a VIP.
Do I dare eat the meat pie?
Living like a rock star, baby.
That guy has a lot of balls, a lot more balls than I do.
Living like a rock star, baby. You're living like a rock star, baby.
Adventure begins here. Where will your Kimber take you? When you think about New Zealand, as a hunter, you'll probably think about the red stag, the tahr, and the chamois. And those three animals are exactly what I came here for. I've been here for close to a week, hunting with ranchers Richard and Sarah Burden, who run Glen, Dene Hunting and Fishing. And now that I've got the red stag part of my trifecta out of the way, it's time to head north, to the backcountry, to finish up the part with the chamois and the tahr. Around here, that's easier said than done, because New Zealand is one of the most difficult countries in the world to forecast the weather. It's not uncommon, especially on the South Island, to experience 4 seasons in one day. Our trip into the backcountry was set back a day because of the unpredictable weather. So, instead of traveling to hunt, I find myself hunting for something to do, and I end up here at the famous Mod Winery. I'm Nick.
Hey Nick, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, welcome to More Wines.
New Zealand has become famous for its wines, and the two islands have over 10 regions where you can find vineyards. We're in the Otago region, which lies in the southernmost part of New Zealand's wine belt. Dan and Sarah Kate Dene started Mod to create a showcase for the very best of New Zealand's wine-growing regions. And today, their lineup is an impressive award-winning collection that any connoisseur would love. Now, I wouldn't consider myself a wine connoisseur, but I do consider myself a guy who likes a good drink. So, on that note, like the old song says, roll out the barrel.
When did this all start for you?
We built this winery 10 years ago, but the original family vineyard is now 23 years old.
You probably wouldn't think it, but New Zealand's climate is the perfect place to make wine. And although New Zealanders have been making wine and drinking it for centuries, wineries themselves are a fairly new trend in this part of the world. For the longest time, New Zealand's meat and dairy industry saw land a lot more suitable for pasture. And for a long time, pubs here were only open for an hour at the end of a workday, making it difficult for the Kiwis to have a good time. But by the 60s and 70s, that would all change. The passenger jet made it easier for large numbers of New Zealanders to experience firsthand the premium wine culture of Europe. And fast forward 50 plus years, and now wineries are found all over New Zealand's countrysides.
This is the 2016 Mount Maud Pinot. So this is our top reserve wine.
And how long does it stay?
In May last year.
Is that typical, like a year and a half?
About a year and a half,
Is
yeah,
that
yeah.
typical for most Pinots?
Yeah, probably most things just get a year, but our reserve ones get another winter. So this is called a wine thief.
There's always a process. I'm just doing this because you're doing it.
Oh yeah, you're actually doing well.
Okay, very good. So tell me about the process here. What should I be looking for?
Well, obviously, first thing is the colour, and a young wine should have the purples and vibrancy. Central Otago Pinots have a lot of dark sort of plum and dark cherry and that sort of character to them on the fruit spectrum.
What I find most fascinating about something like this is the passion that you exude when you talk about it. You truly love it, don't you?
Well, it is. I mean, it's a lovely craft. It's a fantastic lifestyle, yeah.
Wine dates back way before Jesus turned water into wine at the wedding of Cana. I'm talking way back. Wine consumption has been discovered in 7000 BC in China, 6000 BC in the country of Georgia, 5000 BC in Iran, Greece in 4500 BC, and the oldest evidence of wine production has been found here, in this cave in Armenia, dating back to 4100 BC. The consumption of wine has been considered religious by many cultures since its origin. And of course, since Jesus drank wine at the Last Supper, it's an essential part of the Christian faith. Today, wine is the romantic drink. Wine drinkers are a special breed, but even the most hardcore of wine enthusiasts don't get this opportunity. Drinking cold wine straight out of the tank with its winemaker. Not something you get to do every day.
So this has already been barreled.
Already blended, yeah.
This will be bottled when?
It gets bottled in 2 weeks' time.
Is it okay if I take like more of a glass of wine?
Yeah.
Wine straight from the tap.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing this with me.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I don't want to go home.
Don't just tell stories to your friends, prove them. Tacticam. Share your hunt. Finally, the weather has broken, and we make the 3-hour drive north from Glen to the cluster of national forests around the Franz Josef Glacier. But once we arrive, our journey isn't done yet. The only way to get back into this huge piece of public ground is by air. So, I find myself climbing into a tiny helicopter.
If you'd have told me that I'd have been getting in a helicopter in New Zealand when I was growing up in Minnesota, I'd have told you to kiss my but here I go.
As we take to the sky, I can see the mountains on my left and the ocean on my right. The view is breathtaking. But as the mountains become closer, I'm struck with amazement that anything at all can live here. And on the same token, it hits me like a ton of bricks that this is not gonna be an easy hunt. But like I said before, the chance to hunt chamois and tahr in New Zealand is a dream come true. And as long as I can keep myself from falling off of a cliff, I know I'm up for the challenge. And just like that, we are left in the middle of the mountains in New Zealand, which honestly is nothing short of a dream come true. We're hunting near the Franz Josef Glacier, which is situated on the west coast inside a huge piece of public ground that spans over 1,500 square miles. And after we set up camp, my guide Dan Rossiter and I waste no time heading up to where the tahr and chamois feed. Now these guys live in some extreme stuff, and they usually share pretty similar feeding habits. So you climb and glass, hoping to see one or the other. And while we're doing that, I stumble upon another pretty interesting creature. That's pretty interesting. That's actually a parrot. I think they call it like a Kia or something like that, except it lives in the mountains. It's a mountain parrot. And it's also the only animal that reminds me a lot of my sister, who never lets me get a word in edgewise. Sorry, guys. In my mind, shooting a bull tahr in these mountains is the main reason I came to New Zealand. And there they were, in silhouette, in all their glory at the top of a mountain that seems impossible to climb. And while Dan and I are trying to make a plan to figure out how to get up there, out pops a mature chamois at under 180 yards.
Here he is. He's just coming around this face here. Where? These steep ridges just here. He's just coming around the middle ridge.
Oh yeah, I got him right there. Give me that back.
It's standing side on.
I don't see him.
Right here, about 150. See him coming across the rocks here?
I see him right there.
Yeah, I know.
See him? He's going to give you a good side on.
Right there he is, right there.
He's going to fall. Well done.
I am absolutely shook up. There's nothing worse than being put on ice. But if you do it right, there's nothing better.
Where I grew up, there were no mountains. So, needless to say, my love of the high backcountry came later in life. But in recent years, I found myself seeking out harder hunts in more challenging places, trying to push myself. Why? For moments like this. Success doesn't always come easy. And today was a good reminder of that. Whether it comes easy or not, I measure success in fresh meat.
These might not be the most sanitary conditions known to man, but I can tell you that this is probably the most fresh piece of meat I've ever eaten, or at least prepared so far.
Used to this. Clients cooking, me drinking beer.
Don't get too used to it. It's only because I'm in a good mood because I just shot something. To demonstrate to you my way of doing New Zealand chamois in camp. Fried backstrap, bacon, more bacon for good measure, fold it over like a taco. Bon appetit. Heck yeah.
Big bad trucks for big bad boys and girls. Kelderman Trucks. Bigger, bolder, better. Check out our sponsors. Kimber, what all guns should be. Franke, feels right. Nikon, trust earned. Nikon, Federal Premium Ammunition, every shot counts. And John Burrell's High Adventure Company, sporting experiences of a lifetime.
So it's our last morning in New Zealand, in the wilderness. And the one thing I came here for, like the one thing that I wanted to be going home with more than anything, is a bull tahr. And it's the one thing that's eluded us. So these are definitely desperate times. This is the bottom of the ninth for us.
Like I said, for me, my adventure in New Zealand centers around a bull tahr. And today is my last chance to make that happen. I'm not afraid to say it. Our hike, most of it in the dark, up to where we saw the tahr last night, was one of the hardest climbs I've ever attempted. At times, it was downright scary, but nothing good comes without a little bit of work. Unfortunately, when we got to the top, the tahr weren't there, and I started to worry that all that work was for nothing.
I feel a little bit of disappointment because we got up here and we haven't seen any tahr yet. That's a lot of work for nothing if they don't show up. And the third thing is I'm really scared of heights. It is really high up here. If I look down over there, my butt clenches up just a tiny bit.
Sometimes when I'm hunting, it's easy for me to think of the worst case scenario, especially when things aren't going the way that I had envisioned in my head. So I keep my eyes peeled, and I try to take in this gorgeous moment. And just as I start to daydream, out of nowhere appears one, then two, then three bull tahr coming over the top of a mountainside.
About 150, 180 yards away, bedded in the sun over there. The downside is that there's zero chance we can get any closer because of how rocky and steep it is. The other downside is that we have to wait to see if they come here, because if they come to the right side of the mountain, they're going to fall straight down a cliff and we'll never get them. If they come to the left side of the mountain, that's where we need them. A lot of factors here. So we're set up, and now we're just waiting. Horns in the sun. Okay, there's one in the sun. See him? Huh?
They're not worried, sir.
What, Dan?
They're not worried about us.
And then, after what felt like 10 years, they did exactly what they were supposed to do. And the moment that I've been waiting for unfolded right before my eyes.
He needs to fold in to the left. I'm gonna shoot him right now. Underneath him. Hit the rock under him. I've never been more disappointed than I am in this moment right now. Everything we did was right. We worked our butts off. We got right to the right spot. We made a good plan. It worked, and I just screwed it up. I came all the way here to experience New Zealand, but really, the Tahr was what I wanted to take home the most. This is what I wanted to remember it by. And even though I've had a great trip, that's gonna stick with me forever.
I could sit here and try and make excuses about why I missed, and you can bet that all the reasons went through my head. Yardages and nerves and whatever else. It doesn't matter. In the end, I missed. And I can guarantee you 3 things. First, I'm not gonna lie. I'm upset, and I will be for a long time. Second, all this does is guarantee that I'll be back to try again. And last, I won't let a painful miss take away anything from being grateful for this moment and enjoying every minute of it. We have choices. You can feel sorry for yourself, or you can be thankful. I'd much rather fail at an opportunity than never get the chance to try.
In deer camp back home, my buddies and I have a little tradition. We have what we call a kill bottle. First guy to kill in camp, we open up a little bottle of bourbon, everybody has a drink. So they packed this bottle of gin for me because they know I like gin and tonics, Richard and Sarah. And this was intended to be the victory bottle. Instead, it's the misery bottle. So gin and tonics for everyone in celebration of an awesome week and in commiseration of my total mess up today. So, cheers. Boo hoo hoo hoo.
I can't stop crying.
One button takes sting to stun. Scent Crusher. Scent off. Game on. Check out our sponsors. Kimber, what all guns should be. Franke, feels right. Nikon, trust, earn. Nikon, Federal Premium Ammunition, every shot counts. And John Burrell's High Adventure Company, sporting experiences of a lifetime.
It's a rare opportunity that you can honestly say that you're about to do something that you've never done that you've always wanted to. Today is that day. Because long before I ever got into big game hunting, like I am now anyway, my first love was ducks and fly fishing. And now I'm in New Zealand, about to go fishing for trout with the fly, with some guy that I just met.
I have 1 day left on the South Island of New Zealand, and I've decided to spend it on the Clutha River. It's the fastest flowing of any New Zealand river, and it's a great example of the amazing trout fisheries that New Zealand is famous for. It flows with crystal clear water straight out of the mountains, and it doesn't take that long before I catch my first fish.
Spicy rainbow. There he is, my first New Zealand trout. Now they can only get bigger from here.
Hopefully,
right?
yeah.
Casting a fly rod is an art form, and a lot of people are way better at it than I am. And fly fishing is as close to hunting for fish with a rod as you can get. Usually, trout are more spooky than whitetails, and way more picky about their food. Catching trout on the fly is all about getting everything perfect. The right cast, in the right spot, with the right fly, at the right time, and doing it all with a little bit of style. And when you're on the river and you get all of those things in sync, it can be magical.
They're getting bigger. There you go, buddy. This is one of the most beautiful spots I've ever seen in my life. On top of that, it's also one of the more challenging fly fishing scenarios I've seen because the water is so clear. I've never hardly seen water this clear, let alone fished it. The fish are spooky because they can see you coming from a mile away. Couple that with my marginal fly fishing skills, and basically that's a recipe for disaster. What a dream come true. A day on the river in New Zealand with one of my new best buddies. We worked hard for this one. Now it's time to let him go. So much for getting a picture with him.
Over the years, my love of fly fishing has been overcome by my love of big game hunting. So I don't get on the river nearly enough anymore. But when I do get on the river, I'm instantly reminded of the connection you feel with nature when you're on the water. Whether you're a fisherman or a hunter or both, only those who have done it can understand it. I'm convinced that people who love the outdoors are happier people. And needless to say, right now, I am in my happy place.
We made it, nobody died. Am I allowed to take this ridiculous life jacket off now? I don't feel cool in this thing at all. So, good riddance, life jacket.
Momentum is what keeps us moving forward. And sometimes, even when our mind says no, our heart and desire to do something pushes us into a mindset we didn't think we had. Our bodies are only capable of doing so much, but when you have the drive and desire, you can accomplish almost anything. And New Zealand reminded me of that. When it comes to hunting, I experienced the highs of success and the lows of failure. When it comes to living, I tried my hand at something I'd never done before, and I learned I had better stick to playing the fiddle. A glass of wine, pizza on the Barbie, trout on the river, eating a local delicacy, and of course, great people are what I'll remember New Zealand by. Those memories and experiences, they recharge my batteries, and they help build momentum to move forward. President Lyndon Johnson said it best. Yesterday is not ours to recover, but tomorrow is ours to win or lose. Which do you choose?